Hello mga kababayan, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Laruan ni Obi-Wan. In this afternoon's review, since we don't have any luck with this afternoon's toy hunt, so let's just do a custom video of this Wicked Cool Toys first generation Master Chief. So let's discuss the surface level of the armor of Master Chief before we go to the articulation and the other things that I did to this figure. So Gen 1 Master Chief had a different color, so mixture of something like a mint green but a lighter mint green of color, and some silver brushing on the armor to mimic wear and tear. Didn't want to lose that color, especially the silver. It was manageably okay, so instead of rubbing the silver paint off, I just found some green paint in my garage, so and even just applied that green paint just using my fingertips. So I would dab on the paint, just a little bit of paint, and rubbed all over the armor pieces. So nothing really fancy, no brushwork needed. So if ever I made really a huge print of paint somewhere on the body, I would just use a little bit of rubbing alcohol to take it off. So loving the color right now. We still have that silver tinge and a little bit of the original color of the armor showing, but it is quite drubbed out now by the green paint that I have used. But my intention is not to cover, but just to add a little bit of green to it, as to somehow improve the camouflage of the armor. Of course, this armor can never be camouflaged with that really bright visor on, but at least comparatively speaking, from the original color that it had by Wicked Cool Toys, I'm loving this look better. So it looks green, it looks dirty, it looks used and abused piece of armor. So let's get on with the articulation that I did. Okay, so first thing that I did was to cut off the shoulder protector or shoulder pauldron. If you have the first generation Master Chief, this version, this armor would always hinder with shoulder articulation, especially with shouldering the weapon or the rifle. So what I did, of course, as you could see, I lowered this shoulder armor to the bicep level, and I just drilled a little bit of hole and put a little bit of putty and placed a peg over there and snapped that shoulder armor back in, so increasing the mass of the bicep. Because if you have the original version, this version, if you could take a closer look at the biceps, somehow the forearms are a little bit thicker compared to the biceps. So by lowering the shoulder pauldron or the protective armor piece, I increase the bicep mass, and at the same time I improve articulation, especially with shouldering the weapon. As you could see, this no longer interferes with the articulations point, especially if you do this to the armor piece that was already originally attached higher of that, covering the ball of the shoulders. When you do this, the shoulder piece would really protrude out and stressing out the connection joint. So this time, whatever articulation I want to do with the shoulder, it is nice and free, especially with shouldering a rifle. So as you could see, if you would do that, that is now possible, and do that, so you already have a proper shooting stance for the rifle. So let's go on with the articulation points on this area over here. So let me show you what I did underneath. Okay, so I took out the abdomen piece of the Master Chief, so I could show you what I did inside over here. So if you would take a look at this, actually, if without the abdomen piece, that is really a nicely articulating point over here. But because of how this thing is designed as to really fit the mold, the curvature, the inner curvature, and the how the pelvic area is shaped, there would really be little to no articulation at all. But with Wicked Cool Toys, so far the action figure that has really really good articulation would be the Gen 1 Master Chief. So this is why I chose this to really make a custom video of. Plus, I really like this armor. So there you go. If you could take a look at how that is shaped, and especially how this is shaped. So what I did was just to widen out the holes and cut the front piece. So this is going to be the spine area, and this is going to be the abdomen area. So this is the front, that is the back, and I did not mess with the back portion because so far when I would try to articulate this with the top part, it is just okay. So really did not bother sanding out or cutting material off on this area. But with the front part, that's where I really did much. So I really widened out the hole and somehow took off pieces of material on this top part over here, and I sanded down this area over here so I could have a little bit of articulation or rotation as to the waist level. So let's reassemble the figure. Okay, so to show you that somehow it has now a little bit of articulation, so I sanded these pieces over here so to really free material, which those materials would really engage on this part and on that part. So this is the front, that is the back, just for reference point. So let's put that in. So as you could see before, even if the top part of the body of Master Chief was on top, we really don't have any point of articulation. Took it off, we still don't have any point of articulation. Actually, the articulation would just be that. But right now, by freeing some material over here and over here, so when you snap that back, so we really have quite a bit of good articulation on the waist. We could do that right now, so a little bit of twists and turn. And now with that wide hole and some of the materials on top of the abdomen or the diaphragm area cut off or cleared off, so once we join the two halves back, so come on, cooperate. So let's try once again joining that back in. Okay, so as you could see, we have much articulation now, really improved from the previous stock version. So if you want to really pose this figure sideways, let's do a little bit of crunching forward. Now that is also possible. So that is how much ab crunch he has. So side crunches, so by not messing with the top part of the body, this area over here, somehow just by manipulating a little bit of material off, somehow we had placed articulation on the body of this action figure, and we already improved the articulation point on the arm. So I saw some rant insignias for a 1:6 scale action figure, so something that you could attach to the collar. So I used it with my Master Chief action figure. So we have a rank 1 over here, Chief Petty Officer, another rank over here. So I would have wanted to place that on the shoulders over here, but somehow it looks better on top of the shoulder armor. Okay, so the next thing that I did on this figure was the weapons part. So the original weapons that this Master Chief had was this rifle and this pistol. So for these two weapons actually are in scale with this action figure, but if you are going to take the Halo lore seriously, so let's compare with a regular sized human. So we have Master Chief and Duke. So if you could see that proportion, that is really an oversized rifle. And as for the pistol, that is a really humongous pistol. So something that a regular Joe or a regular USMC Marine could not use. But in the games, what the regular Grunt would use are the same weapons actually that the Spartans would use. So same pistols, same rifle. So to scale, I have this. So this is from the Wicked Cool Toys Combat Evolved Master Chief that I just reviewed and did not like. So far the dimensions are just right. So if you would take a look at this, so right now with Duke, you could imagine that Duke could fire this weapon, but not this. This is just way too oversized, but this is just right. But if you're going to pair it with the Master Chief, of course this is going to be quite small. But actually, going back to the same reason why I would use these weapons, it's because if you take a look at the game, the same weapons that the Grunts would use, the USMC Grunts would use, are the same weapons that the Spartans would use. So this pistol actually could still be used by your regular Joe, and it would be quite small with the Master Chief, but that is exactly the point. So these are the new weapons for this figure, and now we are ready for the photos and the video shots. So if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe, and see you on the next custom action figure review.